Narcissists have an endless list of different ways that they can gaslight you. And I think it's really helpful to learn to identify when you're being gaslit and to understand how to overcome the confusion and the crazy making that can take place. In today's video, I'm going to go over 3 specific ways that I've been gaslighted by narcissists and hopefully have some ideas for you to help you overcome these things if this is something you're dealing with and help you feel a little less crazy. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Before I get started, I just have to let you all know that Lemonine's here with us today. She does need a haircut, doesn't she? Yes, but I'm taking care of her right now, so who knows where she's going to wander off to in the course of this video, but she's back. I don't know, maybe she'll stay in my lap the whole time and you won't see her, but if that happens, I'll bring her back out at the end. So what is gaslighting? I've made videos on what gaslighting is, so have many other content creators. You can Google it. Of course, it's the terms taken from the old film Gaslight, which was based on a play. But for me, gaslighting, simply put, is when somebody is purposefully trying to distort your sense of reality, trying to shake your grip on reality, to make you second guess yourself, to make you question your own memories, to make you feel like something's wrong with the way that you're interpreting things. And sometimes being gaslit can make you feel like a carpet's being pulled out from under you. Like you are sure and confident that this happened and that happened and that this is your reality, and then something happens to make you feel like the rug's just been pulled out from under you and you feel like, wait, maybe nothing is the way I thought it was, but it's not replaced with anything that makes sense. And this can really make you feel like you're losing your mind, like you can't trust your own senses, your own memory, your own perception, your own grip on reality. And this is what can happen when somebody is gaslighting you. And one of the most insidious things about gaslighting is when it's effective, you don't know it's happening. That's kind of the whole point. You don't understand that the things that are being said and the things that are being done purposefully to make you feel like you're wrong about the way that you're perceiving things. And if you don't understand that you're being gaslighted and you don't recognize it, you can't really overcome the confusion and the distortion that it's causing. So I hope as I go over a few of the things that I want to talk about in this video, it can help you see ways that you might be being gaslit if these things apply to you. The first phenomenon that I want to talk about, I actually did a reel on this last week, and it did really well, and I thought that it would be good for me to take the opportunity to expand on what I said in that 1-minute reel. And that's the phenomenon of when an abusive narcissist tries to turn their abuse into a we problem. And you know, this of course doesn't always happen. Somebody actually commented that narcissists will never turn it into a we problem. They'll always make it all about you. And while I respect this person's experience, that's simply not true. If the relationship starts to deteriorate to a point where the narcissist feels like they've got to start pulling out more tricks from their sleeve, a lot of them will try to turn their abuse into a we problem. And I've experienced this myself. And what do I mean? So an example might be you're trying to talk to them about the way they're treating you. You're trying to address their abusive behavior, mean things they've said to you, mean things they've done, unfair ways that they've treated you. And they come back with something like, you know, we've really taken each other for granted. We've really treated each other badly. We've let each other down. We need to work on this. And when they say things like this, especially where they will usually pull these things out when you're at the end of your rope, when the relationship is about to just completely fall apart, is when you might hear these we statements. On the one hand, this might give you a little bit of false hope. You might think, oh, okay, this person's finally recognizing that they're doing something wrong, that they're not treating me right, they're taking me for granted, they're not whatever they're saying. But on the other hand, the fact that they're saying we can be very disorienting, confusing, and also extremely frustrating. So you can have these two feelings together of, okay, well, they're acknowledging that they are doing something that they've been denying the whole time, but they're also saying that I'm doing it too. And if you're a reasonable person and you care about the relationship, you're very likely to want to take into consideration what their criticism is. And to think like, well, wait, we've been taking each other for granted? How have I been taking them for granted? Maybe I have been. Maybe I have been. Or we've been treating each other badly. Have I been treating them badly? They might say things also like, we can't give up on each other. We should go to therapy. And you might feel like, well, of course I'm willing to put the effort in. Of course I'm willing to do whatever I need to make things better. But on the other hand, you might be aware that you have already done everything you could possibly do. You've already exhausted yourself and run yourself into the ground trying so hard to fix these problems, and to no avail. And now this person is suggesting that you haven't done enough and that you need to try harder, you need to do more, and now they're going to finally try with you, when in reality, a part of you knows that these problems, which are abuse, actually have nothing to do with you, and it's this other person that needs to just stop being abusive. But then you get either the abuser or other people saying things like, well, you can't blame all of your relationship problems all on one person. It can't all be their fault. Or it takes two to tango. Or, oh, do you think you're perfect? You never make any mistakes? And as a reasonable person, you might not know how to answer these questions, because of course you don't want to be that person that's blaming all of the relationship problems on one of you and not taking any accountability for the mistakes that you are making. And this can be extremely difficult to work through, and it can make you feel like you're going crazy, because part of you is aware that you've already done everything you could possibly do, tried everything you could possibly try to fix things, and nothing's worked. But then part of you can't really find a way to say, well, yeah, it is all their fault. Well, yeah, I'm not to blame for any of these problems, because that doesn't sound reasonable. So let me help you out a little bit if this is something you're struggling with. When you're in an abusive relationship, the abuse is not a relationship problem. The abuse has nothing to do with you if you are the abuse victim. The abuse is something that the abuser is in 100% control of. It is their choice. It is what they are doing. It is not a relationship problem, and it's not something that you can fix. And people that haven't experienced abusive relationships or don't understand what it looks like, they might just assume, well, you're having relationship problems. Of course you both need to work on these things, because they don't have any concept of, especially somebody that they know, just being abusive. And somebody commented on the reel that I made on this subject and said something like, it's like someone came out of the blue and while you were minding your own business and just attacked you for no reason, and then started saying things like, well, we just don't get along, do we? And it's so hard to wrap your head around the idea that someone that you think cares about you, someone who otherwise seems like a reasonable person, would do something like that. That even when it's happening to you, it's hard to articulate. It's hard to say it out loud, because you're afraid people aren't even going to believe you or understand. And many people don't, because it sounds so out there. But this is the reality. And here's one thing that you can consider, that you can think about, that can help you tell the difference between relationship problems that you can do something about, that you can work together on, and abuse that the victim has absolutely no control over. And that is that in an abusive relationship, The victim is not perfect. Nobody's saying that the victim is a perfect person, never makes any mistakes, never contributes to any problems in the relationship. That's just not realistic. Nobody's like that. Nobody's perfect. In any relationship, there's always going to be issues to overcome that are coming from both parties, right? But in an abusive relationship, the biggest problem, the problem that's actually destroying the relationship, the problem that actually is destroying the trust and the safety, is not something that the victim can do anything about. So the victim can recognize all the ways that they aren't perfect. They can take responsibility and accountability for everything they, quote, have done wrong, or ways that they contribute to relationship problems, ways that they can better communicate. They can look in the mirror all they want, work on themselves all they want, take responsibility for everything they do, and it won't do any good. It will not help the relationship at all. That's the difference. If you're in a relationship that's struggling and your efforts to take accountability for your contributions to those problems actually do some good, actually help, then that's not abuse. Abuse is coming from the abuser, and there's nothing that the victim can do to improve that situation other than leaving. So if you're being gaslit in this way to make you feel like you need to take at least some responsibility for the fact that somebody's using you as an emotional punching bag, I just want to validate your experience and let you know that there is such a thing as abuse. And abuse is not the fault of the victim, and there's nothing the victim can take responsibility for or do to help stop the abuse. There is such a thing as situations in relationships that are 100% the fault of one of the people in the relationship. The next form of gaslighting that I wanted to talk about is the Jekyll and Hyde phenomenon that we see sometimes. Now, this can be pretty complicated, and it's not all about gaslighting. There's a lot of different ways that this can manifest, but I wanted to talk about the specific way that many narcissists will sometimes rage at you and act like you're their worst enemy and insult you and tear you down, maybe yell at you or just tell you how awful you are. Just be in this horrible space where you feel very unsafe, very unloved, very unaccepted. You feel like the relationship is falling apart. It's just awful, right? And then like an hour later, after this horrible tornado of emotion has just ruined your day, they're like, hey, you want to watch something on TV? Or, hey, you want to go to the store? Or, hey, what do you want to have for dinner? And they just start acting like you're their best friend again. And they don't address this horrible way they were treating you, or these awful things they said about you like an hour ago or 5 minutes ago sometimes. I personally view this as a form of gaslighting because it's very confusing, and it makes you wonder if you were completely misinterpreting the way they were acting when they were yelling at you and acting like you were their worst enemy. It makes you wonder, like, well, okay, maybe things aren't as bad as I think they are, because an hour ago, I thought for sure this person was going to leave me, or I was just packing my bags, but now they're acting like nothing's wrong, like nothing even happened, like what's going on? Maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of this, or maybe they weren't as angry as they seemed, and this is really confusing, and this can be a very effective manipulation tactic, because you might feel a lot of relief when this happens. So on the one hand, you might feel very confused, but on the other hand, if this is a relationship that you value, you might feel relieved, like, oh, they're in a good mood again. Oh, good. Okay, well, maybe things will be okay now. Maybe I don't have to worry about all those horrible things they just said about me. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I don't have to worry about anything after all. And so there's like this relief, even though these problems haven't been addressed, even though the narcissist is acting like it never happened. So it's really tempting to just play along and pretend with the narcissist that everything's fine and that all these horrible things that happened never actually happened. Now, to help you understand what is happening when this happens, and this is, I think this goes for most garden variety narcissists, not so much real sociopaths or psychopaths, but just your average normal narcissist, I think experiences a lot of shame, a lot of pathological shame that is more powerful than anything that most of us will ever really be able to truly understand. Just this deep, seething self-hatred that eats them alive 24/7, okay? So putting that aside for a second, imagine for yourself, I think most anyone listening can probably relate to the situation where you're really emotional about something. Maybe you're really upset, you're in a really bad mood, you're really stressed out, and things escalate. And unfortunately, you get to the point where you snap a little. Like maybe you yell at someone that you wouldn't normally want to yell at, or you say things you know that you shouldn't say. You know, you do things, you say things, maybe you even yell, you get angry in a way that you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I kind of let my emotions get the better of me, and I said some things I regret. I think, you know, pretty much all of us have done that, right? At some point or another. Can you remember, if this was your experience, this feeling of like embarrassment, like, oh, I shouldn't have acted like that. Like, I'm a little ashamed of myself. I'm a little embarrassed. Coupled with, I've really hurt this person that I care about, or I've damaged the relationship. So it's like this dual, like, I'm embarrassed. I've really made a jerk out of myself. I don't like how I've presented myself, and I want to repair the damage I've done now, recognizing that I've done damage here. And hopefully, if you have the emotional tools to do so, you move forward by taking accountability for what you've done, apologizing, and attempting to repair any damage you've done. Now, if you're a narcissist, first of all, you're much more prone to having these kinds of outbursts because you are an emotional mess 24 hours a day, pretty much. And so lots of little things can just set you over the edge. Pretty much anything can trigger an episode that on some level, you're aware you're making a jerk out of yourself. So narcissists that fly off the handle and start yelling at you and throwing a fit over something that's just really stupid, on some level, they're aware that they're making a jerk out of themselves. And this pathological shame that they live with is much stronger than anything that a lot of you could even think of, right? Or that you could really relate to. So that embarrassment times 100, but remove the empathy, remove the accountability, remove the concern for the relationship or the damage that has been caused. The narcissist is concerned 100% with their reputation and how they have made themselves look. They do not care how much they've hurt you or hurt the relationship. And so the best solution for them is just to pretend that nothing ever happened. Just, you know, okay, I shouldn't have yelled like that. I shouldn't have made a jerk out of myself like that. Well, I'll just pretend I didn't. I'll just pretend like everything's fine now. And oh, look, this person I'm with is pretending with me. Cool, problem solved. I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to take accountability for it because it never happened. I can just do that whenever I want, whenever I feel the urge, and then I'll just go back to pretending it never happened again. Now, I think it's worth noting that the narcissist did feel all those things that they said about you when they were angry, when they were throwing a fit. And when they're feeling better now, they're in a better mood, what they're saying now is probably also true for them, because a narcissist changes their opinion of you based on what kind of mood they're in. So if they're in a bad mood and they're feeling insecure and angry or whatever, they're going to, in their mind, think that it's because of you. And when they are feeling better because they've vented all of their frustration and anger onto you, well, now they feel better. They feel good about the world and themselves for a moment, and that must be because of you as well. So yeah, they did view you as their worst enemy an hour ago. They really did believe that. And now you're fine. You're great. And they really do believe that as well, because they have no stable, permanent, meaningful opinion about you, because they don't see you and they don't recognize you as an autonomous person, and they don't care about the damage that they've done to you when they were in a bad mood, because it's like none of that even exists anymore. And they don't understand that you have an internal experience that continues on with memories of what they've done. Now I'm getting a little off topic here because the topic of the video is gaslighting, but I think I just want to help you understand that when the narcissist does this, you're not crazy. They really are Jekyll and Hyde. They really do think you're their worst enemy one moment, and then they really do think that you're just fine the other. So it's not your perception of reality. It's just this really strange, real phenomenon that's actually happening. And it's not because you're crazy. When they think that you're their worst enemy, it's not because you did anything wrong. And when they think that you're the best thing that ever happened to them, that also is not because of anything that you actually did. And when you feel like you're losing your mind and going crazy, it's not because of anything that you have done, and it's not because the craziness came from you. The last form of gaslighting I want to talk about is the way that narcissists turn things around on you. And this happens when you try to talk to them about something that seems off, something that's bothering you, something that you feel you need to talk about, and they turn it around on you and they put the focus on you and make you feel like you're the one doing something wrong. And this can make you question your sense of reality and the way that you're interpreting what's going on around you. A really, really common example, and I mean, there could be all kinds of examples, but I think the most common example would be if your partner is cheating on you and you can tell that something's not right. You can tell something's going on. Maybe they're acting cold and distant. Maybe they're 2 hours late from work every day with no explanation, or, money turns up missing. Just, you find someone's underwear in the back of the car that doesn't belong there. Just things happen that aren't adding up. But when you try to talk about these things with them, they turn it around on you and they say things like, you're jealous, you're insecure, you're paranoid, you don't trust me, I knew you would be just like everybody else, and you accuse me of things I'm not doing, yada, yada, yada. And when you don't have concrete proof of what they're doing, of what's going on, it's just all these little things that don't add up. And then they turn this around on you and make you feel like something's wrong with you for feeling this way. It can be really disorienting and confusing. And you might be convinced that maybe you are paranoid, maybe you are insecure. And this can be exacerbated when you actually get to the point where maybe you're doing things like snooping through their phone, following them, listening in on conversations, recording them when they don't know. Because if they were to go to someone in the future and say, oh, my ex is crazy, she was going through my phone all the time, or he. This is completely gender neutral and has nothing to do with gender whatsoever, but from my experience, it's she. she was doing this, she was doing that, following me around, and it makes you sound crazy, right? And so what defense do you have for doing that? Now, I'm not going to condone the act of looking through someone's phone and following them around, and doing those types of things because you feel like you're going crazy and you're looking for evidence. I'm not going to condone that because it is inappropriate. But at the same time, I totally understand why someone would be driven to the point where they feel the need to do that. So if that is something you're struggling with, I just want to give you a few thoughts to help you sort this out. One thing that can make this very difficult to kind of get a grip on is the fact that there are people out there who are insecure and paranoid and jealous. They exist. And when you are doing things that an insecure, paranoid, jealous person does, it can be very hard for you to see the difference, between somebody that has these emotional problems and someone who's reacting to real things that are happening, real suspicious, strange things. So here's some things to think about. Turn it around and think about how you would feel if you were in a relationship with someone who truly was just insecure, paranoid, jealous, overreactionary, all these things. And you really cared about this person, and you cared about the relationship, and you knew they had these emotional problems. Maybe they'd been cheated on a lot in the past, who knows? But you cared about this person and you want this relationship to work. And one day you're an hour late home from work with no explanation. Okay. And they're flipping out because they are insecure and paranoid. And you knew that. Okay. What's your reaction? You're an hour late home from work with no explanation. How are you going to react to this person who is already insecure and paranoid? Is your first reaction to say, you're insecure and paranoid and you don't even trust me? Probably not. If you care about this person in the relationship, your first reaction is probably going to be to try to explain yourself with the truth, with something that actually makes sense. Now, switch it back around to what you might be experiencing. Let's say that your partner is an hour late home from work with no explanation. And they tell you that the traffic was really bad, but they're like a 5-minute commute away. So you're an hour late because the traffic was bad? Yeah. Why? Don't you trust me? What are you, paranoid? What are you, insecure? Well, I mean, that's a little different because you have a real reason to be wondering what's going on. Why are you an hour late? And then why are you telling me something that doesn't really make any sense? I mean, was there a traffic jam so bad that you just sat there at a standstill for a whole hour? And if so, why didn't you text me? Well, my phone died. So the difference between being a paranoid, insecure, jealous person in a relationship with someone who's not cheating on you or lying to you and someone who's in a relationship with somebody who is hiding things is that in a relationship, if you were actually an insecure, paranoid person, if the person you were in a relationship actually cared about you, they would at least try to address your concerns without attacking you and turning it around on you to shut you up. And yeah, if you really are an insecure, paranoid person, they might over time get tired of that and it might destroy the relationship, but they're going to at least try to address your concerns with things that make sense for a while, right? But if you're in a relationship with somebody who's actually hiding things from you, and the first time you try to bring something up about something strange they've done, they're going to turn it right around on you and attack you and make you feel like something's wrong with you for noticing something strange, something off, something that doesn't make sense. So somebody that actually cares about you is going to try to use the truth to explain what is happening, while someone who's actually hiding things from you is going to try to turn it around on you and make you feel like you're the problem without providing any explanation that makes any sense. And if you are to the point where you're snooping through their phone, following them, trying to find evidence that you're not crazy, trying to find this evidence that that something really is happening, I want you to ask yourself, what's going to happen if you never find that evidence? And what you plan to do if you do find evidence. Like, what exactly is it that you're looking for? And is there any outcome, whether you find the evidence or whether you don't? Is there any outcome from there that's actually going to make this relationship better? Is there any outcome from there that's actually going to address the trust that's been broken and the way that you feel, especially when this trust that's been broken is now being broken further by you snooping through their things? So I guess my point is, when you get to and I've been there too, so I'm not vilifying anyone here, but when you get to the point where you're actually feeling the need to snoop through things, to follow them around, to try to find this evidence that you're not crazy, in my opinion, I think that should be your evidence, all the evidence that you need, that this relationship is not meeting your needs. This relationship does not have the trust and safety that you need it to have. And this is the only thing that you can come up with to try to make things better, when this is actually making things worse. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you get to the point where you feel this way, where you're not being heard, where your concerns are being shut down, where your questions are being answered with attacks, I mean, that should be enough for you. You don't need to find that evidence that there's something going on, because that is what's going on. And that should be enough. Now, I could go on for hours more about all kinds of ways that narcissists distort your reality and try to make you feel like you're the crazy one, something's wrong with you. But I hope that I've given you some things to think about and hopefully help you put your feet back on the ground. And I hope that you learn to never let someone make you feel like you're crazy because you're having a normal reaction to the crazy things that they are doing. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye. Well, Lemonine was walking around a little bit, but she's just been in my lap almost the whole time when she wasn't crawling under the bed and making noise. But I don't know, she's not in the mood for the spotlight, are you? Oh, there she is. Hi. Okay, say goodbye. Say goodbye.